Good morning and welcome to For the Love of Money, an impactful dialogue focused on the empowerment of financial literacy and entrepreneurship. I am Whitney Marcus, and I have the honor of serving as Atlanta Technical College's Student Government Association President. Alongside me today is Student Government Association President at Atlanta Metropolitan State College, Ms. Sharday Lee, and we'll go back and forth asking questions today. She's also in the background to help um, behind scenes with checking the chat and keeping track of questions for the audience. Today's program is the fifth in a series of cross-college conversations hosted by both AMSC and Atlanta Technical College, celebrating Black History Month. The program will address everything from financial literacy to the COVID effect, all the way to myths about the Black dollar. As moderator for the program, I will ask the panelists questions to initiate the discussion. Each panelist will keep their responses under 2 minutes. For all of those in attendance, please utilize the chat feature for questions, and immediately after the discussion, our panelists will take time to answer your questions. All right, let's meet our panelists. So I'm gonna introduce the panelists and they're gonna give us a minute to introduce themselves. So our esteemed panelists are from Atlanta Technical College. We have Mr. Ronald E. Laws Jr.
Good morning, everyone. So happy and glad to be here. I'm the Department Chair of Social Sciences, First Year Experience, and Academic Success at Atlanta Technical College.
Thank you, Mr. Laws. From Atlanta Metropolitan State College, Ms. Hepburn. I think Ms. Hepburn is having a technical difficulty. We also have a special guest. We have 4 special guests.
My students and helping them reach their highest potential.
Ms. Hepburn, we didn't hear you. Could you give another brief introduction?
You didn't hear me at all? Oh my goodness, I'm having a little bit of a, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, again, hi, good morning. My name is Muriel Hepburn. I'm an assistant professor at the Atlanta Metropolitan State College. Full-time professor since January 2016. I am in the business of changing lives through teaching and helping students reach their highest potential.
Thank you. We have Senator Tanya Anderson.
Ms. Anderson is currently in chamber, and so as soon as she gets out of chamber, she will join us. She hopped on a bit early, but I assure you she brings her greetings and salutations from the entire state of Georgia, and she will be attending with us a bit shortly. She's doing the great works of our state as we speak.
Okay, we have Ms. Monroe. Or Terrell Shuren.
It's Mr. Monroe, and he's on behalf of Terrell Sharon. He's here.
Yes, yes. My name is Parrish Monroe. I'm representing Terrell Sharon, part of the Georgia Spartans. Men's semi-pro basketball team. Trying to get my video up. I apologize. Can you see
Okay,
me
we
now?
have, yes.
Okay, yes, I'm a part of the Georgia Spartans organization. I attended Kentucky State University where I graduated with my business degree and um, and my minor in sports management. Uh, as a part of the Georgia Spartans men's basketball team. We're always in the community. We're always trying to give back. We're always trying to inform. Um, I'm just here to present any ideas or give any advice I can give.
Thank you. We have Jersey Mulan.
Hi, good morning. It's Jersey Mulan. Good morning, everyone. I am Jersey Mulan. I am an author, activist, and founder of Touched Apparel, where we launch different campaigns. One of our core campaigns is To Dope the Bully, where we stand up against bullying. And our other campaign is Love is the New World Order. For every campaign we launch, we donate a portion of the proceeds to a group home organization or a community initiative that's underfunded.
Thank you. Pastor John Elmore III.
The full name. Good morning. I am excited to be a part of this thing. I am John Elmore first, then I'm pastor. I'm pastor all the time, but I'm also a producer, Grammy nominated, Stella nominated music producer, as well as a serial entrepreneur. I run several real estate firms. I also operate in the field of music and media production. So I own a film studio and also a complex that used to be a movie theater. I've converted to a real estate investment, I guess, in a sense, and also a pastor of an amazing church called the 3D Church here in Atlanta. So I merged a lot of my life together, my talents together to make one thing in one nucleus of multiple businesses and multiple streams of income.
Thank you for joining us today. We will begin with the first question. What are some of the obstacles that you were faced with when becoming an entrepreneur? You can just raise your hand if you'd like to answer, and we'll do one at a time. Okay, Miss Mulan.
One of the obstacles, well, a few obstacles. It's so hard to say one starting out as an entrepreneur. I think that for a lot of entrepreneurs, like we start out with a dream. And not only is it a dream, it's more so a purposeful pursuit when it's not just about the money. And so the thing that was the hardest for me as a first time entrepreneur was setting a price, because it's hard work. And I think that, and then also not having systems in place, not even really understanding what systems are, starting out. You just know that you're doing this thing and you're actually very fulfilled with the thing that you're doing until you realize, like, I'm not making the money, that I thought I would make in pursuing this thing until you realize, like, okay, it is about the heart, it is about the work, it's about touching the lives and giving back, but you have to be able to live because this is not a hobby. So, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think it's just, understanding that, like, the money is just as important as the work that's being done, and having those systems in place, really make a difference.
Miss Elmore.
Absolutely. Jersey, you said that very well. My girl Jersey over there. Listen, I know that the hardest thing for me was business acumen. Because you said you had a dream, you have a desire, you have an aspiration, but you don't have system. You don't have, and the thing for me was money management, time management, because on a job, they tell you when to do what, and you just follow instruction. But when you're over your own time, you'll find yourself in this revolving cycle of Netflix and chill. You find yourself in this, oh, I make my own time now, and you'll create a culture of laziness unknowingly. So I think for me was business acumen and time management was the very hardest part of getting started as an entrepreneur. Now, you guys at the college have an amazing opportunity because I didn't go to college for business. I went to college for ministry. two different things. You guys are there, and some of you students are now listening right now. You have the opportunity literally to learn what we didn't learn. Well, a lot of us didn't know coming into business, just going out there with our dream, or myself, I speak for myself only, going out there, you have the opportunity to learn the principles, the business, the money management, the strategy, the marketing tools, the things that are necessary to make business successful. So that was my struggle.
All right, well, we can go on to the second question if no one else would like to answer.
Okay, we don't have anybody for that anymore for the first question. I would love to jump into the second question. Second question is, we have all seen the negative effects that COVID-19 and the pandemic have had on entrepreneurs. What is one positive effect that the pandemic has had on your business or life? Positive. I don't want to hear about the negatives. We know about the negatives. I want to hear the positives. Positives.
All right, Mr. Monroe, go ahead.
Yes, COVID-19, yes, has affected businesses dramatically, but I'm in the janitorial field. I have a contracting business. We service like Sprouts, Dick's Sporting Goods, Aspen Dentals. I do floor work. So honestly, in my field of janitorial and cleaning, my business has really picked up over COVID-19 because everybody's calling for certain cleaning. Everybody wants to be sanitized. Everybody wants it to look great. So um, my business has really picked up since COVID-19 hit, and I just keep striving. I keep picking up every month. There's an increase, and I just try to go with it, and it's been successful so far since COVID-19 has hit. So that's been a positive for me.
Would anyone else like to answer?
I do apologize. This is Professor Hepburn. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty, but however, what I have recognized with our students and with other entrepreneurs is just what he said earlier, is that the pandemic has opened doors for new business, has opened doors for new products and new services. What it also has done is impacted entrepreneurs' creativity. They've come up with uh, other ways of providing their business that they weren't able to do before. So with the pandemic, yes, we're not pleased with what has happened with regards to families and so forth. But as far as growth of a business and so forth, it has had a positive effect.
As a pastor, it's been very difficult coming through the transition, but it's like you said, Ms. Hepburn, that it has created a creative nature in our thought process to be able to do so much more. As a pastor in our church, we expanded our online campus. We implemented new strategies like apps and things to keep people engaged. We're working on a church app as we speak to actually go further. We've also, as a producer, it opened up time musically for creativity to flow. Because honestly, in the hustle and bustle of life before pandemic, I really didn't have a lot of time to be creative. So I had to find, I would have to squeeze in creativity. But in this moment, because the world sat still for so long, it gave us time to build. And because of that, we've landed major distribution deals. I've got an artist, completely elevated in gospel. Certain things that we did musically that were not possible before now are open because the world is virtual. The world's virtual. I know it's kind of a hybrid world now, but with that being said, yeah, it opened up the creative nature in all of us really to find new ways to make money.
And Miss Mulan.
So the positive effects that COVID had, and I agree with what everyone has stated. The positive effects that COVID had for me as a business owner was that, one, when COVID first happened, the only campaign we had was Too Dope to Bully. I had been sitting on Love is the New World Order for probably like 3 or 4 years. And, guy was like, yeah, so you need to drop this like right now. And so we dropped Love is the New World Order, and people were like buying the t-shirts because the money that we raised with that we used to like bail some activists out of jail. Because, even during COVID, there were a lot of marches happening. We also fed some families around the world through Swan. And then as an author, I have a book that is designed to evoke healing and dialogue. And it's interesting because the book did pretty well pre-COVID, but then when COVID hit and people had to really sit down and they couldn't run to the bars, they couldn't run to the clubs, they couldn't run to, their best friend's house, and they really had to sit with themselves. I noticed that I had a lot more engagement. My sales went up as far as my book. I had more streams as far as my audio album, because at that time people needed the healing. They needed that extra reassurance because they had nowhere to escape to. So I think that when it came to COVID, it had a lot of positive effects. And in honor of Black History Month, Black entrepreneurs, Black people are resilient. So I think that in any situation, for us, I think like we always find a way or look for a way, to strive. So, yeah.
Thank you. Question number 3. What are some of the opportunities that students will be able to take advantage of as it pertains to entrepreneurship?
Okay, being a professor, I guess that should be my question. So basically, this is it. Students have an opportunity to learn a lot. They have an opportunity to apply the knowledge and skills that they have acquired either at Atlanta Area Tech, Atlanta Metropolitan State College, but also their life experiences. What happens is that you're involved in marketing because you wear a lot of hats as an entrepreneur, particularly when you first start out. You're a marketer, you're selling your business, you're trying to raise money, you're doing all of these various things. You're developing your communication skills, you're developing your writing skills, you're creating a business plan, you're doing all of these various things that will make your business successful, and also, and I may be jumping into the other, but also helping within the community as well.
Mr. Laws?
Just to piggyback off of what the professor just put forth, I definitely concur and agree with what she said as far as students having that opportunity to go back to school if you haven't, been to school for some time now. But, you get an opportunity to learn those skills that so many of us didn't have the opportunity to learn. Most of us who have gone to college and obtained our degrees, we have the academic basis, but we didn't get that business basis. We didn't have the financial literacy. That is paramount. That is so important as we move forward. And I forget, or I don't know who coined the term, the great resignation, which we all are seeing right now with so many people leaving their jobs that they're apparently not happy with. Obviously, that presents an opportunity for everyone, who teaches, for people who want to come back and gain or learn those new skills. But I believe that this generation moving forward recognizes its worth and understands that, hey, at the end of the day, if I'm going to be paid, a pittance to perform certain duties and responsibilities, then I should do that for myself and hopefully ultimately for our community.
I wanted to
Thank
add
you.
one. I wanted to add one other thing, though, too, that students have an opportunity to do at AMSC. We have some great faculty, and we really care about our students and their learning and what they plan to do with their lives. So we provide them we mentor, we counsel. I am a certified public accountant, but we also have 2 certified public accountants at Atlanta Metropolitan State College. We have someone that's very heavy, and a professor that's very heavy in social media. So our students can consult with us free of charge. Free of charge. They're getting some quality business experience and so forth with us free of charge.
Thank you, Ms. Hepburn. Before we move on to question number 4, Ms. Whitney, I wanted to make note that the Senator, Ms. Anderson, I believe it is. I don't want to butcher your name because I'm good at that. But we want to welcome you. I know that you were in chambers earlier, so we want to welcome you to the call. Thank you for joining us today. I know your schedule is extremely busy, so thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Question number 4. Now, this is an important question for me personally because of my views and my perspective, but I definitely would love to hear you guys' feedback on this. And may I add, this is about money, and I know that it's a serious discussion, but can some of y'all smile? Y'all stressing me out. Y'all making me down. It's just, oh, come on, let's get it together. It's a bunch of Black people on this call that have made it past what people think that we are, what people want to believe that we are. We got to get some smiles on this call. Come on, do something. Okay, question number 4. How important is the aspect of giving back to small businesses and the community to you? How important is that to you? Let's talk about it.
Well, I'll jump in. As a church, always our first priority is community. Like there's a famous quote that said, "Where there is no community, there's no need for a church." So I've taken that and I've adopted that. Everything we do is for community. I also believe that it's important to spread knowledge because that's the only way we grow and expand. So I believe what you're doing even here is community outreach. It's beyond the 4 walls of school or curriculum. This is outside of that. And I think this is a community outreach in itself. But for me, business expansion, helping other businesses get off the ground. I teach a class here locally all the time, maybe once a quarter, called Free. It's called Futurizing Empowered Entrepreneurs. It's free and it helps you get free. The world system has taught us, in my opinion, that it has taught us to basically go out, go to school, get a job, retire, 401k. And that's a good life. And I'm not against that lifestyle, but to have a college and 2 colleges, as a matter of fact, come together and speak life about business and entrepreneurship to your students. It says, hey, you come here and get free consultation about your business idea. I mean, I think that's outreach in itself. So that's my biggest thing in my life is I'm a giver. I'm a horrible receiver. I tell people all the time, I'm an amazing giver. Yeah.
Since I just got on, I'll jump in. I think it's important to give back to the community because you pour into the lives of the people around you. And I mean, we sometimes have been so used to a mentality of what can I get for free? Pastor, I appreciate the free. Everybody appreciates free. But I think a lot of times we've gotten so used to what can I get for free until we don't realize that when we give, we've already opened the door for us to be receivers, and receivers of that good. And I think it helps to let people know that that they are important. You know, that it as you said, it lightens the mood, it lightens the load. But I think even more important than that, that it allows people to know that you're in the community and you are the one who's taking the initiative to make the change. You're the one who's taking the initiative to say, you know, let's band together, let's band together, let's do this together. Let's create what we really talk about. Let's create that community that we really talk about. We talk about, you know, oneness and unity, but let's actually put that into action. And I have to say, out of all the people on the line that I don't know, I do know Pastor Elmore, and I can say that, you know, that is what I see. He's right down the street in my district, but that is what I see, and that causes me as not just the person I am, but as an elected official to continue to connect to him. And guess what happens when I do that? I say, here are resources. Here are some other things that, you know, can help you while you're giving. Here's what I can do to help you give more. I'm giving. I may not be on the same platform on the same level, but I'm giving to him in order to help him do more than he can give. So I think it's so very important because we have to connect with each other, band together to help each other, you know, build the community that we want to see.
Thank you. Senator Anderson. We're going to move on to question 5. Okay, so oftentimes entrepreneurs fail at a business venture because they give up too early or admitted defeat too late. How do you know when it's time to give up on a business venture or to keep going? Mr. Monroe?
Yes. I recently had a business venture that I was investing in. It was a event hall. Started, I'll say it's been a year now, and it's now time to renew the lease. And towards the latter part of the year, I noticed that instead of more events being held, it slowed up. Um, and I'm coming out of pocket now to pay. So, with the new lease about to start, I'm really in a pickle thinking that how do I overcome times when I have to pay out of pocket, because then you understand you're losing. You're definitely losing at that point. So I decided not to go on with the venture because right now, as a small business, I can't take that many losses. Um, so with my cleaning company, as that's going along strong, I just try to put more money into that uh, instead of just losing money. So that'll be my take on that question.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to answer? Miss Mulan?
So I sometimes think that it's not a matter of knowing when to stop, right? Because I'm a firm believer that if God gave you this vision, that you are to execute it. And a lot of times I think it's a matter of asking for help, a matter of tapping into your resources, a matter of, um, because one thing about being an entrepreneur, you're a problem solver. Even if you don't think you can figure it out, like you got to figure it out. So I never think that it's a matter of stopping, right? Unless you just cannot financially maintain what you're doing. But let's be honest, a lot of us started out and we did not have the money. We started out with a hope, a wish, a dream, a prayer, great heart posture, and building solid relationships within our networks, and just formulating that community. So I feel like if you need to stop because financially it's draining you, because you may not have the proper systems in place, I totally understand. But I'm a firm believer that a lot of times it's a matter of just asking for help, because if God gave you the vision, especially if it's not about the money, because you get people who start businesses and it's about the money, right? But when you start something and God gave you that vision, it's just sometimes a matter of asking for help and revising the plan. So
Can I jump in real quick? Jersey, I love you. Just the last thing you just said, it stuck out to me real quick. You said ask for help. And a lot of times to know when, you sometimes don't know. I believe in the principle that a problem cannot be fixed at the level at which it was created. So you have to reach above you to get advice from people who've been where you are, been where you're trying to go. And you say, and let them give you advice. Now, that doesn't mean their advice is always going to fit your life and where you are right now, because you may have a moment of faith that's bigger than their advice. But sometimes advice is it helps you avoid the lesson that you have to learn on your own because they learned it in their lifetime. So that would be my advice to anybody who's trying to figure out, should I keep going? Should I not? Let me ask somebody who's had to close down a business, who had to reinvent themselves, who had to start another idea in a different way, or maybe the same idea in a different strategy because of the time or the times we're in. Maybe like the music industry is a great example. You look at the music industry, we used to sell CDs. 8-tracks was popular. We used to have CD stores. Now streaming has completely changed the industry. Social media has changed the industry. YouTube has changed the industry. So what do we do now? We focus on the new wave or the new identity. But so people that made money the old school way of music are struggling now if they don't reinvent themselves. So you get advice. That's my biggest thing. Ask for help. Yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Elmore the third. Can't forget to put that third. You always leaving that third on. You gonna put that third on there.
That's me.
We appreciate you guys. So the next question that we will approach or try to dissect. This is a good one. This is a good one. All right. Have we placed too much emphasis on money and entrepreneurship while forgetting about family wealth? That's a good question. Let's talk about it.
Ms. Mulan?
I definitely feel like I definitely feel like we have, and I want to kind of go back to the question of us giving back within the community, right? When we're talking about community and we're talking about generational wealth and we're talking about entrepreneurship, I think a lot of things that we miss overall is that when you are building this business from an entrepreneurial standpoint and you're still needing to provide for your family or you're going to raise your family, right? A lot of times we go in because this is the literacy part and it's not just the financial literacy, it's just the literacy overall, even where you are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, right? Sometimes we're so focused on what we're building and what we're creating that we're not having the necessary dialogue with our family members. This is what I'm doing for us, but they don't understand the importance, right? Because it's like you're just doing this thing. And when it comes to what we're doing within the community, I think just as well, we still haven't realized sometimes as a people that like, it's not just about us giving back in our community, it's about us investing in our community. And our schools don't have the certain, curriculum because from a community standpoint, we're not putting the money into our schools. So when we're thinking about from an entrepreneurial standpoint and how we are, you know, not really having the open dialogue with our family about what it is we're doing and why this is important. It's not just the financial literacy, it is the emotional literacy, it is the mental literacy, it is the therapy, the counseling that is needed in the building of this, because we start to have this wealth that we're generating, but in the process we lose our heart posture, there's no humility, there's so many things that are lost in the process. So I think that we are putting a lot of emphasis on entrepreneurship when we still need doctors, we still need people. If I build something and in what I'm building, I need 100 workers. You're talking about being an entrepreneur, but your skill as an entrepreneur may work in my business, right? Like we're not teaching entrepreneurial collaboration as well when it comes to certain things. So I think that we are putting a lot of focus into the money and away from our families and a lot of other things that should be in alignment with it.
If I may jump in and piggyback off of Ms. Mulan, I really truly appreciated what is it Mulan? I think it's Ms. Mulan, what she just
Yes, it's Mulan.
thank you, what she just stated, because it's to me, the emphasis definitely has to be placed back on the building of generational wealth for Black people. I read somewhere where I believe they said like 43% of Black Americans make less than $30,000 a year. And I think we all know that that's pretty hard to live off, especially if you have children. But we can point back to, a time or an occurrence that probably set that up or created that. That's where the education comes in. Something called Field Order 15, which morphed into the Freedmen's Bureau. 400,000 acres of land was set aside, confiscated land was set aside and was supposed to be given to African Americans, or as we might call, or as they were called, newly freed slaves back in 1865. I think we all know that land equates or equals power. So had that land actually been given to those slaves, who knows, maybe some of us who are in this call, if not all of us who are on this call today, would be sitting on acres of land today, which means that our wealth would be, already obtained. So we definitely have to not so much focus on what's free, but definitely focus on what is owed. There is a debt that America owes to Black people, and that hasn't been paid. So through education and through let's just say constant agitation and good trouble, as John, the may rest his soul, John Lewis used to say, we definitely need to keep pushing. We definitely need to keep educating working together, a sense of trying to rebuild a sense of community within the Black community, and the importance of building and sustaining relationships, and definitely sustaining relationships within or with the banking industry. Because if you're going to go into business, you're going to need a loan. Where do we get those loans from? Banks.
Dr. Laws, I think that's amazing, man. Go ahead. Go ahead, Senator. Go ahead. Go ahead. That's my senator.
Y'all, me boiling and turning and going.
This is good. This is a good one right here.
I know this is a good one. I'm gonna wait. Go ahead, Pastor.
You sure? Okay. Well, as a father of 3 and a husband of 1, praise God. I literally work balance over my life. I think coming from a that was divided, from a that I was, and I learned that we forget family. Back to, I guess, the question that was asked, the family unit is still the foundation of my why. Why I do business, why I work so hard, why I'm focused, why I'm building, but if I forget my why while grinding, then I lose my reason. So I lose the reason I did it. I lose it. By the time I've done it, I have nothing to enjoy. So I put this word out to everybody: balance. I use it. I use it in every capacity. Balance in every area of your life. I believe that's the most important way to keep your family unit connected, as well as go hard, grind, get your money. Business is about making money. Some people do it, because it's a passion. Some people do it to make money. It's okay, either way. But remember why. Remember your why. That's it. I'm gonna hush. Go ahead, Senator.
Well, I was gonna say, oh God, y'all got me going. So my sister Jersey, and then Brother Ronald, and now Pastor. The one thing that I will say, and I don't know if I was introduced, and I don't introduce myself properly, but I am not just a state legislator, I'm a minister of the gospel. But most importantly, right now I'm in this space, I am the chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, which means 68 Black state legislators, Black state reps, Black state senators in the state of Georgia. We have the largest. What we advocate for is a piece of the pie all the time. But we have to go back to how we got here. First of all, it's a system that was designed to fail us. They've taken, and they keep trying to take. The whole point is bring the family along, because we don't talk about money. We don't talk, even though a lot of us didn't have it, we didn't talk about it either. Pastor includes his whole family in his business. Bring the family along, have the conversations. This is what we have to do. Take the breaks together, have the boundaries together, do all that together. The reason why, Sister Jersey, that we don't give to our schools, you know why we don't give to our schools, is because of redlining. Because your house is the same house as the Sandy Springs, but it's devalued. So what happens when you pay your taxes? What happens? It goes to the school, right? So if your house is less value, you don't give. There's not much money going into the school system. I tell people this every day, all the time. I am a teacher. I can break it all the way down for you. When that happens, the system has lied to you, stolen from you, taken from it. And it happens in our communities. And we are at the point of now, we are speaking up. We are saying, we're drawing a line. You can't keep doing this. You can't. Then when it comes to those of us who have our businesses together, you can't overlook this minority population that has the business, but you're not giving them the contract. So you got to have, it's got to be advocacy on all levels. And in this space, that's what we do. And it's because there are Black contractors, but then when you set the stakes so high that folks can't participate, then that means that only certain people win and certain people lose, which is the scenario that we've been used to seeing. And even right now, when it comes to education, Sister Jersey, it is, we have to advocate. Like right now, I have a bill, Senate Bill 15 on the floor. While you're trying to silence us with CRT, here I have a bill that says, let us write the curriculum for African American studies. What is that? You say it's an option, it's an elective, it's something that we can take, but let us write the curriculum. You could say, well, I had one of the senators say, well, hey, isn't that civil rights? No, it's two different things. I'm talking about inventions, patents, publications. I'm talking about the things that we invented that we didn't get credit for. That's what I'm talking about. So when it comes to us building wealth, it's almost like we have to do it together, because trying to do it in a silo, doing it alone, we need to make as much noise as we can make, create the Black girl magic, the Black boy joy, you know, as much as possible on all platforms. And that's my spiel. I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson, or Senator Anderson. For sake of time, we're going to move to question 8 because question 7 is kind of like question 6. So, question 8, what are some of the myths that entrepreneurs are faced with that turn out to be factual?
Yes, yes, this is Professor Hepburn. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Mulan. With you having your business, go ahead. I'd like for you to go ahead and go first.
Um, and thank you. A myth I can only speak from my experience was that when you first start out, you're not going to make money. That's a myth because what happens is when you first start out, you do make money because a lot of your supporters are close family and friends. So you make a decent amount of money when you first start out. So to me, that was a myth. Like when you start out, you're not going to make money. What ended up happening was like continue like having that flow consistently was the challenge. So that was the myth for me, was like when you first start, you're not going to make money. And it was like, no, when I started, like I very much so made money. It was the, keeping it flowing in consistently for me. So
One of the other myths too is that people think that you have to be born an entrepreneur and that you just can't develop into one, and that's not true. You can learn and you can be an entrepreneur through training and through uh, working with others. So you don't have to just be born an entrepreneur. It has to be in you. So that's one myth. The other is that even though yes, you do make money, a lot of people think that you have to have a lot of money in order to start a business. And a lot of times that does not happen. People don't always have all the money to start a business. But that doesn't mean that you don't go after your passion. So another myth is that everybody's out to make money. But sometimes people are going out because what Ms. Mulan said earlier, if God gives it to you, if He gives you that divine dream, then you are to pursue it. So basically, sometimes it is the passion, it is the desire that you have within you, that item to be birthed, that's what's there. And so, passion, bringing about something that God has put in you. The other two is that a lot of times, too, is people go into business because of financial independence. And the other is that they are considering, they want to be flexible. And you can make money. You can make money. We've seen it because a lot of the businesses start out as sole proprietors, small entrepreneurships, and they grow into major businesses.
One last myth for me that I think was that it would be easier when you become an entrepreneur, that you don't have to work for nobody else. You ain't got to punch the clock no more. But I had to learn very quickly that honestly, to come against that myth, that you're actually going to have to put in a lot more work, devote a lot more time to what you're building than you would even on a job, a lot more commitment. So the myth that I'm going to bust right here is that it gets easier. No, it gets harder. Work, but you got to work. And if you got the work ethic, it'll work for you. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, guys, for the answer to that question. Ms. Whitney, for the sake of time, do you think we can try to combine the last two so we can have time to chat and get the answers from the chat?
I think we should just skip to number 10.
Okay, what you say.
So
Financial, go ahead.
financially speaking, what is the biggest expense an entrepreneur can expect? Mr. Monroe?
Uh, Biggest expense that I've incurred is keeping up equipment. Um, it's not necessarily buying the equipment, but it's keeping up with the upkeep of my equipment. I have buffing machines and scrubbers that run me into a pretty penny if they mess up. So I'll say that's my hardest financial part is the up of my equipment.
Mr. Elmore, Pastor Elmore.
Dr. Monroe, I agree with you 120%. The hardest thing I think for me is maintenance because I run a lot of facilities. So keeping facilities maintained is very difficult because people have opinions of how they want the bathrooms and how they, so you just have to keep it maintained and then you hire a company, they won't do the job right. And, so it's just long story short, let me come back to business. Maintenance is my hardest in cost, but I will say that I think that this question is case sensitive because some people's, it depends on what you have, what type of business you have. It may be product. You may be a boutique that's set up in the mall. It may just be product overhead or the rental of your facility, the booth rent or whatever it is, so, I think it's whatever your business is. It's case sensitive.
I would have to agree. So my answer was going to be, it depends. It depends on the type of business. If you have a business that is very equipment sensitive, as brought up earlier, so equipment is going to be your major cost. But you may have a web-based business, so you don't have that type of cost. You won't have equipment costs, but you may have some other type of costs. Your technology, your marketing, and so it will depend. A service business is different from a product business. A product business, say you got to have a lot of equipment. Also, it depends whether or not your business is home based. Your business may be home based, so you don't need a location, and so that would decrease. So some places, some people have home based businesses, so they don't have to have rent. They don't have to have a mortgage or something like that. It depends on the business.
All right, thank you all for answering the questions. Now we're gonna get into Q&A. So ask, I'm gonna ask questions from the audience, and you all can take a stab at it. We have a question from Paige. She says, "What advice to you? What advice to you? What advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs that want to get started in the aftermath of the pandemic? The landscape seems to be different from pre-COVID, during the height of COVID, and now as we get used to living without COVID among us." So um, the question is, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs that want to get started after the pandemic?
I'll start us off. I think that you have to be honest about why you're wanting to start the business, because we are really in a time where you don't need a brick and mortar, right? You can literally start an Instagram page and say, "Hey, this is the business I'm running," and do everything through a third party drop shipment company, virtually, especially now with metaverse, right? You literally can create a whole store with your merchandise in it through the metaverse. So you have to be honest about why you're wanting to start, what your commitment is, because even after COVID, the layout is still the same. And truthfully, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, we have so many more resources these days than, our ancestors did. Even just some of our family members 30, 40 years ago, right? It's easy to start a business. You just have to be honest about why you're starting it. Because if it's because you see everyone else starting a business and it looks like fun and it looks glamorous and it looks like it's gonna get you in the A list, don't do it. Because you're gonna have some days where you put up a post for your business and the engagement is 3%. Your likes are 5 likes, right? Um, you just have to be honest about why you're starting that business, because all the tools and resources are there at your disposal. But if you don't have the emotional and mental strength to make it through some of the disappointments that are going to come with starting a business, some of the support you think you're going to have with starting a business, be honest with yourself about why you're starting it, and promise yourself that through it all, emotionally and mentally, you're doing this because of, like Pastor said, your why. What is your why of why you're starting?
Would anyone else like to add to that?
And you definitely have to have a market for your business. Sometimes people want to jump into a business, just as Ms. Milan said earlier, because everybody else is doing it. But is there a need for your product or your service? What is unique about your business compared to someone else's business down the street? So you don't just jump into it, but you really have to have that uniqueness and that need and that desire to continue on in the business.
I agree with
Uh,
that 100%.
All right, we have another question from Roland, last name Roland. All right, it says, what do you tell your children that wants to start a business but don't want to work in the process of building the business?
That sounds like counseling right there. Um, uh, I think either they have it or they don't. You know, sometimes you just, you don't have the drive. I mean, and I think life will tell them the answer to that question when it's not working, and the human nature of survival will kick in. And they have to find another means to making the means, or making an income. I believe life would answer that for them. It's like either you got it or you don't. You know.
That's a good, I would also say, I mean, they get on their phone and any electronic device that they can to find and Google anything else. It's okay to give them a little work to do to find out what is this really what you want to do? What does it take? This is what it takes. So, write it out, write out the plan, write out the vision. The Bible even says write it out. Write it out. And can you follow through with this? Can you follow up with this? Is this something that you can live with or not live with or live without? Give them homework. It's their life that they want to build. Is this the life that you want to build for yourself? Then this is what you're gonna have to do. And you can mentor and guide, but show them how to get it early. Show them how to grind early, because if you don't, like Pastor said, life is going to teach them. It's just better that and sometimes they don't want to hear from their parent, but if they do, praise God. If they don't, then give them a little homework.
Senator Anderson, I like that comment about give them some homework.
Yes, honey.
That hit home.
All
Well,
right,
Because
we
at
have
the end of the day, they will have to work that business. They will have to work the business, so either now or later.
we have two more questions. From Ms. Hancock, are there any free resources you recommend to someone thinking of starting a business?
So I would say free resources. What I love about a lot of the apps, I mean, even through Instagram, if you go into like the Instagram blog area, there's so much just information at your disposal. Also, I currently use a company called like Printful, and of course this is very focused, right? It depends on the business you're wanting to start. So like, let's just say you want to start your own t-shirt company, right? You can literally log on to printful.com, set up an account for free, and anything you need to know, want to know from a marketing standpoint, they literally have all that information on there for you for free. If you go to Google, if you type in how to start a business, it's gonna come up. I mean, for me at 39, I wish Google was a thing, like for real, for real. Like Google was not super, super big, like in my early 20s, So I think that like now, like the information is like at the tip, like the tips of our fingers. It's too easy to just Google whatever it is that you're looking for. Like, I mean, my mom would probably be like, go to the library, right? Like we can literally pull our phones out and say, Google or Alexa or Siri, it's whatever it is you're wanting to do, whatever business you're wanting to start, Google it. and everything you need will be right there at the tips of your fingers.
I definitely agree. The information is out there. I mean, you can just do web-based research to get a lot of information. But I said earlier, and I'm going to speak out for Atlanta Tech as well, is that you have professors that you can come to and they will give you guidance and direction. I heard Reverend Elmore talk about the services and so forth that they provide. The services are out there. What you got to do, you just got to get off your and you just got to go out and look and do the research and put forth the effort. If you put forth the effort, you're going to make it. Then there's another website that I always tell students to go to, and that's sba.gov. There's a lot of information out there too. And then, of course, you got YouTube University. So there's information.
I'm going to jump in now, Professor Hepburn, and I appreciate you for shouting out the Atlanta Technical College. But forgetting the YouTube videos and the websites, come to Atlanta Tech. There are people there that you can touch, that are tangible, people that can mentor you. Someone talked about mentorship or mentioned mentorship earlier. I mean, it's important to build those relationships because no one can do it alone. So when you have these entities as Atlanta Metropolitan, Atlanta Tech, and various others, take advantage of them. And a lot of students nowadays are going to school for virtually free. The federal government has stepped up in many ways over the past couple of years and provided monies for students to go to school. So now you have that opportunity to build your skill set. And then also just finishing on the importance and not losing that focus. The building of generational wealth is so key and so important. If we were more wealthy as a people, then we could give our students and give our children the opportunity to go out there and say, hey, mom, dad, I want to start a business. If they fail, if they fall on their faces, guess what? They can come back to mom and dad. We got you. But there aren't too many Black families that can do that. So it's so extremely important that you are educated and step out there and know what you're doing when you get out there, so that if you do fall, you're prepared to, in a sense, pick yourself back up. But ultimately, we definitely need to build and sustain those relationships, get back to that sense of unity within our communities, and understand that in many ways, all we got is us. So if that's the case, then let's move forward.
Thank you. We'll now hear the announcements from Atlanta Metro State.
All righty. So at this time, we'll share some announcements about some things that are happening at both of the colleges. And looks like at Atlanta Tech, there is a grand opening that happened on February 14th. The ATC All-Star Cafe reopened and is under new management. So please, for the attendees that are virtual, please patronize your ATC Cafe, the All-Star Cafe, as they have reopened and under new management. So I'm sure there are new menu items and delicious things that you could purchase for lunch or breakfast. At Atlanta Metropolitan State College, all February long, we are doing what we call Elevated Color. It's a series of events where every event is dedicated to those who came before us, those who have elevated us by lending us their backs to stand on. All of those events can be found on our website, and it will be hosted by our student life and student government. It looks like that will conclude the announcement portion. Back over to you, Ms. Whitney.
In closing, we would like to thank all our panelists for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here, to share their expertise and their wisdom. We had a great time today. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the attendees and for your participation. And we hope that you will join us again for our upcoming events. This concludes. Thank you.
Yay.